Hello there, folks. Welcome back. You are watching McRaeathon 2022, Day 2. My name is TinyTim78, and I'll be your host for the first couple of runs here. Remember, we are raising money for Mind. All of your donations go towards that amazing cause, so please, if you can, get those donations in. Now, we have a slight change of schedule. First of all, for you. Unfortunately, Fairrod the Capacitor, who was supposed to be running Colin McRae Rally 2005 on the N-Gauge, wasn't able to make the run due to time constraints, unfortunately. So, we have an extra run, a replacement run for you. We have our very own Viper, who's going to be running Ridge Racer 5. So, they'll be doing that in just a second, but before we do that, we have a couple of your donations come in. We had €10. This came in yesterday at the end of the stream from Rotomotor. £5 for each license test fail. Let's get that funny sound set. Well, thank you very much for that. And Boa donates €27. Let's make it 150. And that is now €150 raised for Mind. As Viper said earlier, absolutely fantastic. So brilliant. Anyway, with that done, time to take it away. Viper. It's all yours.
No worries, thank you very much. Right, so hopefully my mic's coming through okay. I think it is. But yeah, so hello everybody. I'm Viper, also known as BPG13. I'll be running Ridge Racer 5, the Grand Prix Easy one. We're going to run this on emulator rather than console just because of the fact that it's a bit easier. So this run will probably go under estimate by a bit. I've set an estimate of 1 hour 25 minutes. So this should go under estimate. I'm all ready to go if we're all ready with the timer and everything, which I believe we are. Say that, I'm managing both today, so this should be an interesting time. But yeah, if we're all ready to go, I'll give you guys a countdown. So on my mark, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
Okay, so we have ourselves a bit of an interesting challenge with this one. So, Ridge Racer 5 for the PS2, a game that came out back in 2000. Now, fair to say that this game overall was a bit of a tech demo into the new generation of consoles at the time. So we had, I believe, at the time, obviously the PlayStation 2 was like the newest thing. So this came out, like I said, I think it was mid-2000, something like that, when this released. There is like a few things that I kind of mention straight off the bat. First of all, or first and foremost, so for the sake of this run, I won't be picking the fastest car to do this run with. This is simply because of the fact that I choose to use the, I think it's the Mercurio, this car. I think it's the, I believe this is the actual, what you call it, the actual cover car, I think it is, for the game. So that's a neat little thing. The second reason I use this car is because I'm quite comfortable with driving it. So the 6 cars that you have at the start are the Mercurio, the EO, I believe the Fiera is another one, and the Solaire, I think. Can't really remember the other two actually, to be fair, off the top of my head. Clearly, I have not done my knowledge, but the first 3 cars in the game are drift cars, and the final, the last 3, including this one, are grip cars. Now, the car's weight to power ratio, especially the EO, is completely different to what we normally have for a racing game. And also, as well, one thing to mention. The commentator is probably going to be right up there. He's going to try and hopefully explain a few things. He probably won't be able to because I nicknamed him Benji yesterday. Yeah. Unfortunately, Benji, I can actually mute said that I don't really know what he's actually called. As in, not the guy who voiced him, but he doesn't really have a name. I don't think. So I just nicknamed him Benji yesterday. I was like, all right, we'll call him Benji. Let's just call him Benji. Why not? Yeah, so like I said, it came out in 2000, so this released in, obviously, Japan, Europe, and North America. The version of the game that we're playing is the North American version of the game. Now, it is worth mentioning, so we're playing the Grand Prix Easy, which obviously means we're going to have the easiest AI and everything like that. It also means that we're going to be lapping AI. Yes, really. In a game that's about drifting, you end up lapping AI. Especially on the easy difficulty, which I find quite funny that you're able to lap the AI. But yeah, for the most part, you have like a couple of different things altogether when it comes to the game altogether. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head now what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so when you start this game, you have to, when you start the Grand Prix mode, so the easy, the medium, and the hard difficulty, they all require you to complete the basis GP. I think it's nicknamed something different in the Japanese release. But long story short, this is essentially to unlock a car. So if you beat the basis GP with all 6 cars, you get 6 different cars. If you beat it with one of these cars, then you get an upgraded version. So obviously we're using the Mercurio, I believe it is. And we get the upgraded version of the Mercurio when we get to the next GPs. So the way the easy and the medium and the hard difficulty all work. Obviously, easy and medium will be relatively straightforward. They are, I think, there's not really much difference other than the AI difficulty is obviously a little bit more difficult. The hard difficulty is obviously the hardest one, most challenging. However, there is one significant difference. So, where the end point is for the easy and the medium, there is actually there's an extra GP that you must do. So you have the basis GP, which you can see is the one we're doing right now. And we're going to do this to unlock the Mercurio, the car that we're driving right now. But then we've got the extra Grand Prix, I think it's called the extra section for the Grand Prix. And you have the Heroic, the Blast, the Knight, and the Throne GP. Now, the Knight GP is reverse tracks, so it's a bit more challenging, in my opinion. That's probably the most challenging part of the run altogether. The Throne GP, the final GP in the game, is actually, well, the final GP in easy and the medium, I believe, is actually just a 10-lap race on an oval. Honestly, there's no challenge. It really is quite easy. But the hard difficulty has an extra Grand Prix, so I think the Throne Grand Prix is replaced with something else, and then you do that race last. So you still do. Oh, sorry, no. You still do the Throne Grand Prix, but once you've done that, there's like an extra Grand Prix set that you need to do after that. So the hardest Grand Prix, hardest difficulty, the Grand Prix mode, which is the main mode in the game, is packed with an extra set of races. And obviously, for me, I'd say that's more like for the elite. Nothing else, just it's for the elite. Now, like I said, Ridge Racer is known for its drifting mechanics. Now, you may notice, like when it comes to drifting with me at the moment, that I'm barely even drifting, well, not really drifting that much. That's because, like I said, this car is a grip car. Now, the physics for this, for me, I mean, me personally speaking, was... So when I first played this, I was like, what the hell are these handling physics? These handling physics are well weird. Well, turns out it was just me being bad, obviously. You get used to game physics as you go. Yeah, like I said, for the most part, it's relatively straightforward. I mean, for this car, the reason why I pick it as well, and again, I've already mentioned this reason, like I said, is the fact that for me, it's the easiest one to drive. Everyone has their own preference. If you drive all 6 cars, I'm sure you'll find your own preference. But for me, this is like a nice in-the-middle car where it's not really fast, which obviously does lose you. Yes, it does lose you a lot of time. But also the fact that you're able to... you are able to do the rest. Like, you can use the rest and drive the rest however you like. But for me, I always find that this is the easiest one to drive, personally speaking. Also, out of all of the races that we do, we've got... so we've just done... We did Park Town was the first race we did. We've just done Outer Pass. This is Above the City. which is not one of my favourites, because at the start here, they have an extended version of the Parktown track, which, like I said, that was the first track that we raced on. But if we're good enough, or not, okay, I was just going to say if we're good enough, but we're not, the AI is just like, no, I'm going to get in your way. So we're going to see if I can try and get up the inside of this guy here. Yes, we go. Good stuff. So this actually has, in my opinion, a really tricky part here. So getting past the AI in particular is not too difficult on the easiest difficulty, as you might expect. However, they can get in your way, especially for the corners. So I've now got to try and like navigate through these corners without hitting this guy in front, which should be straightforward. Can you not take me off? There we go. Good stuff. But yeah, so this car's like a nice in the middle car. It's not too heavy in terms of drifting, and it's quite easy. Plus, for me, the easiest technique I found for drifting for this car in particular is start turning, let off the gas, and then get yourself right back on the gas again. Because, believe it or not, like I said, the drifting mechanics that was in later games, so the drifting mechanics that came out after this, so we're just going to say, like I said, Ridge Racer 6 and 7 for the 360 and the PS3, plus the 2 Ridge Racer games on the PSP. We're not going to include Ridge Racer Unbounded or the 3D game, although I believe, or the DS game, I believe. But if we go with, well, yeah, if we go with the drifting mechanics that came out after this game, but before like the latest games, the car was literally a case of you let off the accelerator a tiny bit, and the cars would just drift into a corner, and the drifting mechanics became very easy. In my opinion, they were very easy. That was how I got into the series as a whole. For me, growing up, I didn't actually grow up with Ridge Racer. I didn't grow up with Gran Turismo neither. It was only when I got for me, I got into Ridge Racer through the PSP version of the game, believe it or not. I bought Ridge Racer 2, and that was the first Ridge Racer game I ever owned. So I got into it in the later games, which would explain why I wasn't too keen on going back to the original games, just because obviously they had completely different physics. Granted, yeah, you can get used to them, but I wasn't too great with the physics. I'll be honest, I'm not too great with these physics, but that's beside the point. But then, obviously, like I said, we get to the earlier sort of games and things like that, and the drifting mechanics between this game and the original was like a weird middle compromise. So this was, I think, for me, this was where the games, from playing them anyway, it seems like this was where the drifting mechanics started to turn in favour of the modern era at the time. I say modern era, but like I said, Ridge Racer 6 and 7 for the 360 and the PS3, and the PSP titles as well. Because for me, if I'm being honest, the drifting mechanics for them 4 games in particular all felt very familiar, very similar in terms of handling models. Whereas with this one, the cars all felt different. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Yeah, of course the cars all feel different. They always do, but like in the later games, the only thing you could really feel was the cars still drifted in as much. But, for example, I think it was if we take the Danver Bayonet, I think it is, that was in the later games, that was a more heavy car compared to like the Fiera. The Fiera was more, you could drift it, obviously, but it would obviously be a bit more than just, oh, okay, it's a drift car. It seemed to, all the cars seemed a bit more familiar, like they all gripped to the roads like glue. So not too bad so far. Yeah.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. We have received a donation
Ooh.
of €5 from Thrasher DBS, who says, "Hope this helps." Well, thank you so much, Thrasher. Every little donation, every small donation, every large donation helps mind a fantastic cause. So please keep the donations coming in. We hope you are enjoying this run. Back to you, Viper.
No problem. Thank you very much. I actually do have a question for you, Tim. You were saying before about you've never seen Ridge Racer 5 before, correct?
Correct. I'd never seen any of the later Ridge Racers. I first played Ridge Racer, the first one.
I was going to say,
and I've not seen any of the later ones.
Anything beyond... what was the latest one you played then?
Ridge Racer.
Okay, so it literally was just Ridge Racer, okay.
Yes. I did play. I had Ridge Racer on the PlayStation. And I did play it quite a bit. But like I said before we started, Gran Turismo was another title that I had on the PlayStation. But I have never played any of the later Gran Turismos, and I've never played any of the later Ridge Racers.
Very nice. It's
I'm old school, me.
I was going to say, it's one of them, isn't it, where when it comes to modern, like I say, like the modern game series, but when it comes to certain game series, it's mad at how far back Ridge Racer goes. I mean, I know somebody was saying the other day, because Sony had the State of Play, didn't they? They did that State of Play, the conference that they do. Mm-hmm. And the amount of people that are in the racing community are like, please announce Ridge Racer 8, please announce Ridge Racer 8. Because the thing is, the community, the fan base, is still there. I think the last title that came out for Ridge Racer, I think, was either Ridge Racer Unbounded, which was 2012 or 13, or Ridge Racer 3D for the 3DS. We've not had a next gen. I don't think. Yeah, we've not had like a next gen title since then. The last console that they actually made the Ridge Racer game for was either the 3DS or the PS3 and Xbox 360. We've not had one for the PS4 or even the PS5. So imagine what that kind of hardware can do now.
Well, I've just a little bit of Google foo here, and I'll give you some fun facts. The original Ridge Racer came out in 1993, which obviously in the arcade. In the arcade, and then the PlayStation version was a launch title for the PlayStation. And you are right, the last game to come out was Ridge Racer Unbounded in 2012 on the Xbox 360 and PS3 and PC. And that's obviously 10 years ago. That's 10 years ago now.
That's what I mean, and since then we've had 2 generations of console go by and we've had nothing. I think, to be fair though, I think that the main reason why we've not had anything, or the main reason why there hasn't been a new Ridge Racer game, is because Namco owns the rights to it. And if anything, Namco is very invested in the Tekken series, because they own that as well. So I think they're... Which is, I mean, don't get me wrong, Tekken's a great fighting series, but it feels bad that the racing series has been neglected. The other thing is, as well, is that there's 3 really popular racing series that have all died off in recent, in like 10 years, if not more. And they're, in my, I mean, again, it might be another one I'm missing. I think a lot of people want a new Wipeout as well. That's another racing series. But there's the Burnout series. They've not had. If we exclude the remaster for Burnout Paradise Remastered, if we exclude the remaster for Burnout Paradise, the Burnout series hasn't had a new game since Burnout Paradise, which released in 2008. The last time Driver had a new game in the series was 2011 with Driver San Francisco. And Driver Renegade as well. And the last time, like as we said, the last time Ridge Racer had a new game in the series was 2012. So it's a shame really, because I think I was watching a video last night about this. It was to do with the Burnout series. I know it's kind of off topic given the fact I'm playing Ridge Racer, but the one thing that they were saying was that they really missed. They really missed the Burnout series, and I was like, I can understand why, because the thing is that for me, I think for a lot of people as well, a lot of people that played the Burnout series probably played one of 3 main games in that series. Obviously, you might not have played the original, or you might have done, but I think the 3 games that stood out in that series the most was Burnout 3 Takedown, Burnout 3 Takedown, Burnout Revenge, or Burnout Paradise. 3 great games in the series. For me personally, I preferred 3 or Paradise over Revenge. But again, those were the games that a lot of people had fun with. And unfortunately, as this video mentioned that I was watching last night, was they didn't think that there would be... They don't think that there will be another Burnout game. Simply for one reason. EA owns the rights to the Burnout IP, and if it was to be released, then it would have microtransactions everywhere, and things like that. You know, that sort of thing. So they don't really have high hopes, so that really it could do with being a game that, yeah, it's okay if it is slightly broken at release, but, you know, it's a shame that, like, the Burnout series is pretty much dead at this point. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know that there's probably going to be a lot of people saying, oh yeah, hang on a minute, there's dangerous driving, and there's the Danger Zone games that you can get. There's those games, there's Crash Slime, and Crash, I think it's, oh yeah, Crash Day or something, Red Line Edition, and things like that. There is that, and there was the Burnout Crash game that came out on Xbox Live Arcade, and I think maybe PlayStation Network, which was basically, like, in my opinion, a mini version of Burnout. It didn't do that well, and yeah, it was a shame, but what can you do? But also, that is our first Grand Prix done and dusted.
Okay, here's the latest update on your team's... This is your new car. You've got a new end.
There we go. So, let's go to the next one.
Break away from the pack.
I do have a question relating to Ridge Racer here, Viper. You were talking, you were saying how you never got into the sort of really early games. So which games in the series have you actually played, and which games do you actually speedrun?
I'd say, me personally, I'd probably say...
The race is about to start.
Well, I mean, I'll say this. I got into this game not too long ago because I started to get the grasp of the handling. But for the most part, for a while, I was running Ridge Racer 6 on the 360. I think that was the first Ridge Racer game I did runs of. And then I tried my hands at the PSP titles. I eventually bought myself a PlayStation 3 with one goal in mind, although that's turned into several goals since then. I bought a PS3 during lockdown, and the main reason I bought one was because of wanting to play Ridge Racer 7 and wanting to run it, because I saw that no one had really run the game, not by much anyway. So I'd say, so I've done runs of 6, 7, the two PSP titles, and this one. I haven't... Oh, and Unbounded as well, which I only did one run of. I keep saying to myself, I will go back to Ridge Racer Unbounded one day. I even looked at it the other day and I was like, no, not yet. Because for me, and between myself and Kenzie, the other person that runs it, is that we've tried to find... Kenzie came up with the route herself, and did a run of it, and I ended up trying to do a route of my own, but I ended up being way slower and everything like that. Like, we know that with the right route, that run can come down considerably. We don't know by how much, but we know that it can come down. I think currently the record is a little over 2 hours 40 minutes, and it could probably come down by at least 20 minutes or so, maybe even more, depending on the depending on the on what like route we take and how many points we get. Because the thing is, in that game, it is all based on points, how many points you get. If you don't get enough points, then I want to say it's game over, more or less. But basically, you have to redo events to get further ahead. I mean, like recently as well. Speaking of dangerous driving. Again, this is kind of stick to the topic of this game, is that, so for those that aren't aware of what dangerous driving is, so dangerous driving is, to simply put, it is a Burnout 3 knockoff. It is made by developers that were on the original Criterion team that made Burnout 3 Takedown, and basically what they were trying to recreate was the good old days from Burnout 3. into their own game. I believe there was a sequel that was made called Dangerous Driving 2, which I believe the game could only be found on the Epic Games Store, which is a bit of a bummer, really. You can buy Dangerous Driving on modern consoles, on Xbox One and PS4, I do believe. So it is available on the consoles as well, but if you want to get it on PC, it's not available on Steam. It's only available on, like I said, it is only available on, what you call it? It is only available on, like I said, on this Epic Games Store, which is a shame. But yeah, I think that kind of about covers that one, really. But yeah, you can play that through. But so Kenzie came up with the idea. She did a run not too long ago, and then it was like, oh, okay, there's a route for it as well, which is also routed out herself. So I did a run of it. I think I cut like 20 minutes off her time, or 25 minutes off her time. I think I beat every race, maybe bar one, first try. And I know that if I didn't have to restart, then it would probably have took me. It probably would have been faster by like an extra few minutes. But we reckon possibly, I think, with the right route in mind, that game can go under 3 hours. I mean, again, we're not 100% certain about this, but it is a possibility.
Not trying to go too far off topic, but on the topic of what's the word? OG racing game series, and we're talking about PlayStation era. Mm-hmm. There's one that stands out for me, and I don't even know if it's a proper racing game in your eyes. I'd love to get your thoughts.
Okay.
And it's a very interesting title. It's a game called Twisted Metal.
Oh. Right. So.
I'll just leave it at that and see what Viper has to say.
Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to let the side down here. I've never played a Twisted Metal game.
Oh, wow, okay.
But I know of the game series. I know of some of the things in said game, but I've never played it for myself. So that might come as a shock. But
it is a shock, because I definitely remember that game again in that sort of era. That game, my brother was a massive fan of it.
To me, for me personally, I mean, again, please don't kill me for saying that. But I feel like Twisted Metal and Carmageddon come along the same lines. Mm-hmm. Because they're all about destruction and stuff. I think Carmageddon was slightly different, but it was like car wrecking games with weapons and stuff. There was actually a game, for those that are into Twisted Metal, by the way, I can actually possibly recommend a game that was a bit more modern. Unfortunately, it didn't sell too well. I don't know why, but it is. I played it and thought it was quite fun. I definitely think it would be along the lines of anyone, including yourself, Tim, if you're a Twisted Metal fan. It's a game called Blood Drive, and long story short, I'm pretty sure it was like a modern take on Twisted Metal.
Right, okay, I've not heard of that one.
So it came out, I think it was 2009 or 2010, around about then. So we are talking a lot more modern. It came out on the 360 and PlayStation 3. I don't know if it got a PC release or not. But the idea of it was you and I think 7 or 8 other competitors in arenas and things like that. And instead of, it was basically, I'd say it was like Carmageddon, but on a modern scale. It was more a case of, instead of killing people, you would kill zombies. And the idea would be, you'd get power-ups and things like that, so you could destroy your opponents. Again, I think just like in Twisted Metal, you could destroy your opponents. But the whole idea was you got points for running these zombies over, like killing these zombies. And also, like I said, it was an obscure game. I can definitely agree with Ugyu, I think it is, that's in chat. It was an obscure game, I can definitely agree with that. But for some reason, it was one that overall wasn't well received, but not just that, it was a case of, it wasn't really around up for sale that much. So yeah, the more you know, I guess.
Following on from that, can I just... Sorry, I hope you don't mind me just sort of making conversation. The Destruction Derby series.
Yes.
Because again, that's similar. Well, obviously, Twisted Metal was a little bit more extreme, but Destruction Derby was obviously the first of that sort of take on things. Is that a series you've got much experience with?
So with that game series as a whole, I've only got experience with one game in particular, which is Destruction Derby 2. I have played the original, but I got told that the original was a lot more difficult. I think there was one main reason for that, was because Destruction Derby 1 was one of the very few first driving games, I think it was, along with Ridge Racer and Gran Turismo. It was one of the first... I don't know if you can call it racing, to be fair, because it was destruction. I mean, I guess you could call it. Yeah, I guess you could. Ooh, that was an interesting corner. But yeah, I played through the... first... well, not played through the first, sorry, let me reiterate. Reshuffle my words there. So I have played the first Destruction Derby game, but I haven't played it all the way through. I played a little bit of it, thought, it's not that good. Then played the second one, I was like, oh, I like the second one a lot more. Because I think the second one, and obviously as you've seen firsthand when we did it at UKSG live, was quite a fun game to play through casually. The handling was a lot better, it was a lot more improved. Like, I think in the first game, the handling felt very off. But I played the second Destruction Derby, but then anything after that I haven't played. So I haven't played the... I think it was... What was the next one that came out? There was another Destruction Derby game, wasn't there? There was like... Was it Twisted Metal or something? I don't quite know. Possibly.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting how the series, and Thrash is pointing out in chat that, like Twisted Metal, the second game was the better one. And I think a lot of these early games, right, and that's something I always remember about Gran Turismo, because when Gran Turismo first came out, it was, well, revolutionary is possibly not overstating it, but it then iterated on that, and I mean, it's still going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still going, what, nearly 20 years later.
Yeah. It's like, what's the other game series? Flat Out. That had a couple of games made for it, and the developers then end up making Wreckfest, or Next Car Game Wreckfest as it was originally known, before they turned it around to... before they turned it around, it was like, oh, okay, it's now called Wreckfest. So that was made by the same developers as Flat Out, which was another racing series that I would say Flat Out died, but it didn't, because they made Flat Out 4 in 2017, 18, I want to say. And obviously at the same time, I think Wreckfest was out. Yeah, Wreckfest was out before then, actually. Wreckfest is... It's again, this is another thing. Wreckfest is actually, this year, 7 years old. And it's still very popular. Like, there's a lot of players still playing it. A lot of people still enjoy it. But I think the reason why it's still popular today is because it was in the beta stage for about a year or two. And then, since then, it's kind of changed... I was going to say changed hands. It's kind of gone a bit different. Since then, if that makes sense. Like, it had the console release a couple of years after the actual PC release. So PC had it for a good couple of years, and then eventually released on console in 2018, I think. I think it released after Flat Out 4 did. Or maybe I'm wrong on that one. It might have been before, but yeah, it's still quite popular today. But again, I think as I mentioned, it's regained its popularity because of its gameplay style. It's interesting car handling, which I think they weren't like normally with the Destruction Derby games. I'd say that the handling can be quite arcadish, more than simulation. Or at least that's how it feels to me. But then when we've got Wreckfest, the cars were more simulation based. So I think that might be why people enjoyed it more, quite possibly. I don't know. But yeah, that's my that's my 2 cents on it. Sorry, it was a long-winded answer, but yeah, there you go. Also, I'm getting these AI in perfect places. Like, these are AI great at the moment. Game's being generous to me. Either that or I'm just not getting really good first laps, so I'm catching AIs at better places later on.
Finish line is just up ahead.
Come on, power! Power! Clarkson would say.
Finish! There goes the winner. What an
That was actually a gold split.
The race is about to start. 3, 2, 1, go!
Also, Tim, if you got anything you want to mention about the charity or anything like that, feel free to go right ahead.
Yep, that would be fine. There's always plenty to talk about. So, thank you everyone. You are watching McRaeathon 2022. We are a 2-day speedrunning marathon held annually here on both the McRaeathon and BSG channels. And through the power of the internet, we're bringing you 2 full days of racing goodness from the comfort of our own homes to yours. We are raising money for Mind, which is a nationwide organisation committed to prevent mental health issues and to support everyone who has dealt with mental issues themselves or within their family. All of your donations will go towards Mind. We would also like to thank BSG for supporting this marathon. Besides providing us with their channel for streaming, they are sharing technical assistance and their donation service with us, which helps us with a much smoother running of our events. Please be sure to check out their next big event is BSG Annual 2022, from the 14th to the 20th of August. And do you want to get some updates for when our marathon goes live or when your favourite runs are coming up? Then please follow us on Twitter at McRaeathon. Also, don't forget to join our Discord if you haven't already. And if you wish to catch up on previous McRaeathon runs, you can head over to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you very much indeed. And back to you, Viper.
Alright, thank you very much. So yeah, altogether, we have, I think it's, let me think how many races we've got to do. So it's 17 races altogether for the any percent, oh sorry, the Grand Prix easy speed run. A lot of the tracks you will notice as well, and I think this is probably, a lot of people have probably noticed by now, is that we have had the ability to race the same tracks over and over. Well, unfortunately, that's just kind of how it is. Again, just to mention that this game did come out in 2000. I believe it was pretty much a Japanese launch title, the PlayStation 2, or very close to it anyway, when the PlayStation 2 released. And because of that, obviously, there wasn't as many tracks as there was in the previous game. So bear in mind, the game that came before this, I believe, was Ridge Racer Type 4 for the PS1, I want to say, which obviously had quite a fair few tracks in it. Later games obviously introduced a lot of tracks, like, I mean a hell of a lot. This was one thing that stuck out amongst the late ones. Yeah, the later half. I think it was, what was it? What did we have? We had like, at the time, I think there was a couple of games that came out for the PS2 back then. Also, no, we don't want to save game data. But yeah, for the most part, I do like the fact that as the game carried on, as things carried on, it made things a lot better. Anyway, let's go to the last GP next. So again, we get our car. There it is. So again, this car is fully upgraded from the... it's fully upgraded from first one, from the first car that we had. But yeah, altogether, so there's 17 races because of the fact of, like I said, we've got to do 3 GPs that have got 4 races each, including the start one. And then we have the last one. Now, it is worth noting, it says, oh, you want a new engine. Personally, I can never tell with this one. But supposedly your car's engine gets upgraded, so you get more power. As the Grand Prix go by, the cars will obviously get faster, so we are going to start hitting speeds of 200 miles an hour soon. However, the biggest speed difference, as you'll see, will actually be in the final Grand Prix, which is... I can get past this guy. Ooh, this is going to be close. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. Got past him. Good stuff. That might not be good, because I've now hit the wall. Am I okay? Yes, I'm still okay. I'm alright. So, the cars will obviously get a hell of a lot faster as we go. So I didn't want to hit him there. That's not good. Again, I'm only losing little bits of time. Normally you want to try and get through these guys without hitting any of them. It can be a bit tricky to determine where the AI goes. On the harder difficulty, the AI don't move as much. Well, they do, but it's a lot more challenging on the hard difficulty, as you might expect. But yeah, so the engine of our car will get upgraded for each one, but on the final race, which is the Throne GP, which is set at the Airport Oval track, which you only do once in the entire run, believe it or not, and it being the final race. So most races are 3 laps each. The final races, as I said before, is 10 laps, but at 30 seconds a lap, yeah, fair to say the final race is tough. Well, it's actually quite easy, not really tough. Yeah, we have, what is it? We have a, I think it's like, like I said, 30-second lap, something like that. Oh my god, that was interesting. That was very interesting. But yeah, so another thing to kind of mention is, well, sorry, to finish off what I was saying, is the car's top speed is about 230, 240 miles an hour on the final one, because at that point the cars are all fully upgraded. And yeah, fair to say, you go pretty fast. The other thing to mention as well is, I don't know if this has become apparent, but if you look on the left-hand side now, you'll see we have a time limit. So each Grand Prix, aside from the basis and the Heroic GP, it was like, you know what, all we're going to do here is, the basis GP is to acquire your car. The Heroic GP, right, that's your first Grand Prix with your car. So we're just going to make you try and win. We're just going to get you to try and win, right? Sounds straightforward. Right, last GP, which is this one we're doing right now. All races have checkpoints. This is where it's like the arcade style, where you have a timer counting down the left-hand side. You run out of time, you have to restart the race. Thankfully, with the easy difficulty, you have lots of time, and you don't really run out of time. Run out of time is not really something you can do. Unless you're hitting every single wall, it's not really going to be a factor. As you can see, we get given ridiculous amounts of time as we go. So we hit a few checkpoints as we go around the, you know, as we go around the stage, it's fine. The other thing to mention is that when, like I said, when we get to the next Grand Prix set, which I believe is the night Grand Prix, all the races that we're going to be doing will be in reverse. Now, for me, doing the races the normal direction, like i.e. like we're doing right now, are relatively easy, relatively straightforward, piece of cake. When we get to the night GP, because all the races are backwards, it makes things a bit more difficult. In my opinion, it is a bit more difficult. For a casual player, it is difficult. Yeah, so you have to, not only do you have to remember that, okay, right, so I'm now going this way instead of that way, you've then got to remember, like, where you can actually drift, where you can overtake the cars, because don't forget, where you're going to overtake the AI is going to be in completely different spots to where you were overtaking them before. Obviously, it's the same for every track, but it is also the same for when you do reverse races as well. Also, that was very, very close. Very close.
Wow, great cornering.
But yeah, for the most part, just want to quickly mention as well, if this hasn't become apparent already, thank you to all those that are currently watching McRaeathon and enjoying it. And thank you so far to all of our amazing hosts and our tech guys behind the scenes for helping run this marathon. Without them, it would obviously not be possible. And of course, a big thank you to all of the runners that we've had so far. Looking forward to doing our next event, whenever that may be.
Can I just add into that thank you so much again. 155 euros raised so far for Mind. Still the whole day of runs to go, so please keep those donations coming in. Really, really appreciated. It's always an honour and a privilege to be able to help out.
I was going to say, if we can hit 200 euros by the end of today, that would be amazing. Just saying, not only would it beat the 100 euro barrier that we've already busted, but if we end up having if it ends up going past the 200 euro mark, then that would be absolutely incredible. And this will go down as one of the best events we've had on record. And you're like, well, hang on a minute, so how has McRaeathon gone through the years? So, long story short with this, I can kind of explain a little bit about the history of McRaeathon. So, believe it or not, McRaeathon actually started, again, we were actually working on a video about this, just so people are aware. I don't think we can't really keep that secret. I think it's okay to not keep that secret. But for those to kind of give like a brief backstory on how McRaeathon started and how it changed through the years. So McRaeathon actually started as a relay race of the first Colin McRae Rally game to Colin McRae Rally 2005. So I think it was 2017, somebody had the idea in the Colin McRae Rally community. At the time was known as Deathmaster D. But basically they said, hey, you know what would be cool if you did if you ended up doing a relay race of Colin McRae Rally 1 to 2005. So I was like, yeah, that would be pretty cool actually, I like the idea of that. So we did this relay race, myself, Joseph, one of the other head organisers, and this Deathmaster D, who's I think since changed his name to Avisims, or something, I can't remember. But without him giving us the idea, this event would not be possible. We wouldn't have ran the event in the first place. Because it was originally, he said, wouldn't it be cool if you did the relay? So we did the relay, and the name McRaeathon was something that I think either he came up with or we came up with as a group. And I was like, right, okay. And I was like, you know what? McRaeathon makes it sound like a marathon. Obviously, at the time, we wasn't a marathon. We were just doing it as a relay. So anyway, through a bit of a discussion with myself, Joseph, and Deathmaster, it was more or less with myself and Joseph. We decided, you know what the heck? Why don't we try and run a marathon? We'll call it McRaeathon, we'll stick with McRaeathon, and what was previously known as McRaeathon, which was the relay at the 5 games, is now known as the McRae Pentology. So that has its own category and leaderboard and everything. You can find it on speedrun.com if you look for the McRae Pentology, which is, like I said, the 5 games back-to-back run as a relay. Taking a little over 6 hours, 6 and a bit hours. And yeah, so McRaeathon was born. We ran our first event, which was known at the time as McRaeathon 2, because again, the original McRaeathon. That might be why everyone's like, wait a minute, so what happened to McRaeathon 1? So McRaeathon 1 was essentially the relay race, but our first proper marathon event was McRaeathon 2. Now, given that we didn't actually rename, again, the relay games into the McRae Pentology until after we ran the second McRaeathon event, that was why that was known as McRaeathon 2 and why it still is known as McRaeathon 2. So a lot of people are like, ooh, okay. So yeah, there you go, the more you know. And the first 2 events that we ran quite successfully, first and foremost. They ran very, very successfully. Well, we had a few technical hiccups and things like that, but we did run our first event, I would say, quite successfully. To kind of move forward everything else, though, is that obviously we had the second McRaeathon run very, very well. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just seemed to run a lot smoother. I mean, obviously the first event that we ran properly, except for McRaeathon 2, was ran with the intention of having, as people may or may not have guessed, all the games that would be allowed would have been Colin McRae Rally or the Dirt games. So that immediately singled us out from any other racing series. However, after the first event, we was like, you know what, we're going to open the floodgates. You know what, we're going to open the floodgates. So we opened the floodgates a bit more, we opened games up a little bit more, and was like, right, okay, so now it's like anything that's off-road or racing is allowed. To which is what we've actually stuck with since, hence the reason why there's no Mario Kart or Sonic R or anything like that. It's because at heart we are first and foremost a car racing speedrunning marathon. There you go, like, well, hang on a minute, what about that section in Call of Duty where you drive a Jeep? No, that wouldn't count. Sorry. But yeah, I know that we've had a few submissions that haven't matched what we set out to expect. Obviously, we have our own guidelines and things like that, which you can find on the McRaeathon Oengus page, as to know as to what is and isn't allowed. But for the most part, we do stick with the car race and rallying genre. And it was only as far as, I think it was McRaeathon 3, which was 2019, I believe it was when we teamed up with BSG to put out our marathon for a much wider audience. So obviously, as Tim mentioned, big thanks goes to the BSG crew for allowing us to do so and allowing us to team up with them. It's been absolutely amazing so far, and we can't wait to see what the future holds with them. But yeah, since then, year on year, the overall quality of the event, in my opinion, has improved. We've obviously had Hypnotics, who's also in the BSG chat, so hello Hip, who has also helped put our graphics package together for us. So a big honourable mention goes out to him for doing such an amazing job with that. And yeah, just like I said, I think the biggest mention overall goes out to, again, all of our volunteers and hosts and everything that we've had and tech guys, over the years as well, and not just over the years, but also this event as well. Like, without them, as I said, it would not be possible to put on such a great show.
3, 2,
But yeah, Tim, have you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, again, very, very interesting to hear you going over the sort of history of the event there. As I said, it's always a pleasure for me to help out with anything like this. And this event specifically, I've been helping out a couple of times now for this particular event. It's always a pleasure. Remember, however, if I can find the page that I was looking at, that all of your donations are going towards mine, and in every region of the world, mental disorders surpass 10% of the population. Governments seem to lack momentum in reducing the burden of mental health problems, as only 55% have mental health awareness and only 8% have suicide prevention plans. Organisations like Mind help raise awareness to the issue, helping us to get one step closer to a world where everyone gets the help they need. And being honest, in today's situation, in today's society, and the way things have been over the past couple of years, I think everybody needs all the help they can get. So, Mind is a fantastic cause, and again, cannot thank everybody enough for all your generous donations. Having said that, we have received another €20 from Thrasher DBS. Thank you so much. Who says, can't wait to potentially participate next year. Viper's putting on a good run for us. Well, I agree with that entirely, Thrasher. Thank you so much for your generous donation towards Mind.
Thank you again, Thrasher. I know, funnily enough, don't worry, Thrasher, I have seen you in chat. It is worth noting, actually, just as a quick one. So Thresh is another runner who has also run this game, and not just this game as well. Fair to say, as I think he might agree, he's also helped run. I say helped run. He's also run obscure racing games as well. Sorry, Thresh, it kind of is a little bit true at times. So he ran a game known as Hardcore 4x4 or TNM Motorsports presents Hardcore 4x4, something like that. In the US, I think it was called, which is a obscure off-road racing game, and truth be told, was one of the main guys behind me going back to that game recently. Not by too much, I will admit as well, and he might say the same thing, possibly, I don't know. That game's wacky. I mean, the handling is like a bit interesting. Like, you have to know where everything is, really. Yeah, you have to really like know where the bumps are on that game. Like, imagine a game where you have to memorize not just the corners, but where the bumps are on the track. It's weird. It is really weird. Again, I don't know what Thrash's opinion is on it, but yeah, it's a fun little game. I mean, it didn't sell too well. It didn't sell too well. It did come out in 1996. It didn't sell too great on the PS1. There was a PC version of the game that released, and I think it also released on Dreamcast, I want to say. And yeah, it was not great. The handling and everything, it was very questionable at best for a lot of things. But yeah, there you go. The more you know, I guess. They also made, I think it was Gremlin Interactive, which was... They made a couple of racing games, funnily enough. One of which was a game called Motorhead, which I don't know if you've ever played, Tim, but yeah, it was called Motorhead, and it was like... Somebody told me about it in my chat, and I was like, what the hell is Motorhead? Anyway, I've not played it yet, but I've seen gameplay. I was like, oh my god, that looks terrible. I'm like, but that's great. I might give that a try one day, just like playing it through, so yeah. Also, with that being said, we have beaten the Blast GP. So we've beaten Blast GP, so we're on to Night GP. So this is the one with the reverse tracks, as I said. And yeah, we'll be all ready to go. Yeah, do you have any thoughts, Tim, so far?
Yes, it's been very, very fascinating. I've really enjoyed watching this one. As I said, I didn't really have a huge amount of experience with the series. Certainly not the newer titles. I suppose this counts as one. So yeah, no, it's good. I have a question though regarding the night tracks, the reversed tracks.
Yeah.
Surely does it basically mean, from a speedrunning perspective, that you're having to basically relearn the track? I mean, does the fact that you know the track one direction have any influence at all on learning the track in the opposite direction? Was it basically just like learning a new track?
Well, if it's a night track, not really. Like, when it's... I mean, the difference between night and day doesn't... I wouldn't say it makes any difference. Because it doesn't, like, darken the track or anything like that. But when the track is reversed, like these are now, it makes you think, right, okay, can I take this corner flat out this time? Or do I have to cut my speed? But for like a day and a night track, if it's the same track both day and at night, then I'd say as long as you know the track layout, you should be fine. If you do alright with it during the day, you'll do it just fine at night. I don't think it'll make too much of a difference, personally speaking.
Cool. Well, I have got some very, very good news for you. We have just received a €25 donation from Hypnotics. That takes us to without a comment, so thank you, Hypnotics. €200 goes to mine, Viper. There we go. on the first run, folks. The first run. We've still got a whole day's worth of racing ahead. Let's see if we can push that total even further. That's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Hypnotics, and everyone who has donated so far. Really, really, really amazing stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hib. Hib's like, I see where this is going. I'm going to make sure that this works. We're going to make sure that this works. We're going to get it up to 200. And he's like, yeah, 200. Bosh.
That's just amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hib. Love you, dude. Love you so much, dude. Appreciate it. I also believe as well, a little birdie tells me that Hypnotics might also be coming to UKSG.
Well, I was just going to mention UKSG. I hope you don't mind if we do a little plug here, Viper.
Go for it.
So for those of you that are watching, and I hope you are enjoying McRaeathon here on the BSG and McRaeathon channels, BSG themselves have got their own event coming up very shortly, BSG 35, that's coming up in a couple of weeks' time. That's going to take place in Alphen aan den Rijn in the Netherlands. So if anybody is wishing to attend that, please join the BSG Discord and you'll be able to get information on that. BSG Annual also takes place in August as well. I will be attending that event in person, hopefully, so I'm looking forward to that. But we also have coming up later on in the year, in September, we have the United Kingdom Speedrunner Gathering, based in Glasgow, Scotland. Viper and myself will both be attending. And we would love, submissions are open until the end of June, for that event. So if you're at all interested in submitting and coming up to Glasgow and meeting us and having a great time hanging out, watching Viper play racing games, watching Trico play Darkest Dungeon, watching Argit play Sonic, all these things, it would be absolutely amazing to see everyone. I can't wait. It'll be our first event back since the pandemic, and it is going to be absolutely fantastic. So if anybody is at all interested, please let us know. Please come along. The UKSG Discord, and it would be a pleasure to see you there. Thank you.
No problem, mate. It's worth mentioning as well, just what's on the topic of UKSG, is that, as Tim said, it is a great event to go to, and would highly recommend, if you live in the UK, if you're able to get yourself there, would highly recommend coming. Not just that, I'd go as far as say, I think this kind of goes out mentioning, but if you live outside of the UK, it's actually worth the trip into the UK, because we've had, as someone who's attending UKSG from the very get-go, pretty much, the UKSG event has grown significantly in the last couple of years, which is obviously always amazing to see. It's always great to see. But we've also had travellers coming in from the Netherlands, so we've had some of our friends from BSG turn up for our events, which is incredible.
Yep, always amazing.
Well, not just that, we've had people as far as the United States, and I think maybe one or two from Australia. Australia, I can't remember, maybe. But, if we haven't, then we definitely could do. But, it's mad to think that there's people that have come from the United States just to the UK for the event. I mean, to be fair though, in truthfulness, I think a lot of people might even mention this, is that the thing is that it's just the same as anyone from like the UK or anywhere else going to a GDQ. So, but let me just put it this way: if you can get yourself to UKSG, try and do so. The thing is unfortunately, is that we're not like GDQ. We don't run a week long or anything like that, as much as I think we'd probably like to. We run for a couple of days up in Glasgow. It usually runs overnight as well. And honestly, the events are really, really fun. I mean, the thing is, again, it kind of goes with a lot of speedrun events as well, is that when you go to a speedrunning event, some events will feel like you're literally just there for the games, but if anything, a speedrunning event as a whole isn't just the gaming. Like, for example, take what my mum and dad think, for example, right? Yeah, take, for example, what my mum and dad think about me going to these speedrunning events. They think it's a waste of time. They think, oh, all I do is sit there and play games. When, really, I play games, yes, I play games on screen, but for the most part, you're there because you're able to meet new people. You're able to enjoy yourself. Like, I mean, you have so much fun from going out and just getting food. Like, there might be a group of you going out and getting food, and even something as small as that. Okay, in everyday life, you going somewhere for food might not sound too exciting, but when you go to an event, because of the people that you meet there, like, there might be a group of people that you've only just met for the first time. You didn't know them 2 days ago, but now you do. And you're like, oh yeah, we're going for food, you fancy to come? It's like, yeah, sure, why not? Then you can start getting chatting to them, find out that, oh hey, they're into, you know, that they've got their taste in gaming, you've got your taste in gaming. And honestly, it's just a really friendly place. Like, just as a whole, it is just extremely friendly and very enjoyable, very relaxing. I mean, you dip in and out. Like, if anything, you don't go to UKSG to sit in front and watch every single game for 2 days. Unless that's
Definitely
what you want to
not.
do. By all means, feel free to do that. Wouldn't recommend it, though. Whilst you're there, just try and, you know, to try and speak to other runners and see what they're running. Heck, you know, I mean, for the most part, I'd say that, like, there are runners that go to UKSG. I don't sit and watch every single run. That sounds really awful, I know, but I don't sit and watch every single run that happens at UKSG. I can go back and watch them after the event is finished when the VODs are on YouTube, of course. But, yeah, just like, as a whole, though, things have really, like, things really change. Like, when you're at UKSG, again, BSG as well, as Tim might attest to, because you've been, haven't you, firsthand?
Yes, I've been to BSG Annual.
It's more about the social experience rather than the gaming experience. The gaming is just kind of a side factor, really. I'd say. I think maybe, am I getting that right, Tim, do you think?
Well, yeah, I'd just like to chip in here and just comment on this while we're watching the Viper drive round here. I have to say, I've been, just to give you a little bit of background, I first attended my first speedrunning event in person in January 2019, and it was UKSG in Glasgow, and I basically sat in a corner for an hour on my own and didn't really speak to anybody. But the few people I did speak to were very, very nice and very friendly. And after the event, I came back and thought, well, hang on, I don't think I really gave it enough of a shot, or gave myself enough of a shot. So I went back to the next event, which was in March or April 2019. I volunteered that time, and I was hosting, and I was on tech, and it just clicked. And it's just such an amazing, amazing experience, and you meet so many amazing, wonderful people. And I have to say, at the moment, UKSG, this event looks like, on paper at least, going to be our biggest event yet. It's going to be really, really good. And don't let that put you off, because there'll still be lots of people to talk to. And if you're at all interested in speedrunning or hanging out or just wanting to see people, chat to folk, it's an amazing experience. It really, really is worth doing. Somebody who considers themselves a little bit of an introvert, I really do enjoy the events, and it's fantastic stuff.
It is definitely worth just kind of reiterating a point here, is that with a speedrunning event, you think, okay, right, so the whole point is speedrunning. Well, yeah, but at the same time, it isn't, like I said, it is about the social aspect, meeting new people and things like that, and you find that it's a bit of an intriguing one, because it's like, oh, okay, you sit and play games, you sit and talk to people. Yeah, but these are people that you don't see every day. They're not, you might not see these people for months, unless you live close to them. Then fair enough, you might see them a bit more. But for the most part, as well, is that there's people that go to the UKSG event and ESA and BSG, I'm pretty sure, that go, and because they're just gamers, nothing to do with the fact they might not know what speedrunning is. They just go because it's like, oh, there's a gaming event on, oh, we'll check that out. And you know what? Some of these people actually turn into speedrunners. Some people don't. Some people kind of just go, you know what? I quite enjoyed that. I'm going to go back and do it again. What was they all doing? And then, because we had people ask about, like, what's speedrunning, what's it involved. I mean, that same event you're on about, Tim, was where I first met a guy called Brian. And Brian is a guy that is in the Scottish esports scene. He runs, I think it is, what is it? SEG, something it's called. Scottish Esports Grounds or something. I can't remember what the G stands for, but yeah, basically he's part of that side of things, and he came to the UKSG winter event, the same one you did, Tim. He came back for the spring event as well, albeit it wasn't there for too long, but yeah, he obviously came back and he was like, you know what, I quite like this. I quite like, you know, I quite like how this is run, and you know, as an event and everything. Like, this is amazing. Like, this is such a good event. Yeah, so it is one of them things, but like I said, you have so much fun there at these events. It's mad, absolutely mad. But yeah, like I said, you meet all sorts of people there. For the most part, like I said, everyone, don't forget, the reason why everyone is at UKSG is for the same reason. They're all there because they're all into gaming and probably, most likely, speedrunning. So, this is the one thing you have to keep in mind, because as someone that, if I'm being honest, I wasn't really too much of a social person, and like I said, the thing is that I went to the first UKSG event that I ever went to was the first UKSG event itself, back in 2017, and for someone to see outside in, as a runner and as someone that just kind of went casually and didn't really help out with anything at first, the event is so much fun to just be a part of. Like, it's so great to see how much it's grown in 5 years. UKSG, just for context, UKSG has been going for 5 years in December this year, which is a milestone and a half. And if I'm being quite honest, quite possibly, I don't know anything, by the way, about this, but quite possibly, I think there should be like a 5-year anniversary for the event in September. Because it will be 5 years of UKSG. It first started in 2017. Granted, it was December 2017 when it started, but this year will have been 5 years. And I think personally it would be great to have like a special do for it being 5 years. Apparently as well, if you buy, just so people are aware, there are tickets for UKSG. They are for sale right now. You can find them over at the UKSG Olengas page, and I do believe as well over on our Discord. And yeah, I mean, again, you can actually buy yourself a UKSG postcard, which is a new thing for this event. Whether it's due to the fact that it's 5 years or not, I'm not sure, but yeah, there you go. Again, you're getting a bit of buck for your bang. Quite a big buck for your bang, actually. So, with all of them races done, that leaves us with one race to go. That one race is the Throne GP. So we're now gonna unlock our last race, which is the Throne GP, which is 1 round. And as I said, we are now onto the fastest car. The time is going to be when... Yeah, time is going to be when we cross the line in this race. This race is about 6 minutes or so. There or thereabouts. So the car now is going to be a lot faster, as you're going to see. Already in 3rd gear, we're already up to 160 miles an hour. We weren't that fast already. So, this last race isn't too difficult. It is literally just a case of go fast and get past the AI as best as possible. You can use slipstream behind the cars as well. And this will be, like I said, we get the ending cutscene as well once we've finished, which will be good. Yeah, we're constantly making a left turn. We're doing a NASCAR track. Making a left turn. Oh look, making another left turn. Come back in 5 minutes. You won't miss a fucking thing. Reminds me a lot of what Jeff Dunham says, where it's like, he says, I don't get why they do traffic reports at the morning, because it's just always the same. It's like, hey Ollie, what's the traffic doing? It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Everybody left for work at the same damn time. Come back at 5 o'clock, and guess what? They're going the other way. But yeah, like I said, we're doing NASCAR now. So yeah, we've got to do 10 laps of this circuit. Laps are 35 seconds apiece, or, well, there's 33 seconds there, but they are about 33, 34 seconds actually. But yeah, we're just going to keep going round and round in a circle. Like I said, the race is about 5.5 minutes. Although on the splits it's 6.5, but yeah. But it's fine, it's fine. I actually find it a bit more difficult to pull away. Don't get me wrong, we're going to pull away and it's going to be just fine, but I find it a bit more difficult because you're constantly going at full speed all the time. Cool. Well, unless you hit a wall like that, then you ain't going full speed. That lost a bit of time there, that's fine. The best thing is that you can actually, if you get a car in front of you, like we probably will in a minute, you can use that as a slipstream. So you can just get in there, slipstream, it's like, bosh. Nice and easy. But, yeah. This run's not gone too bad. I was expecting the run to go a bit worse, because I was expecting, like, when I hit a few cars and everything, I think this is still going to be close to my PB. My PB for this on emulator, so emulator's not around, but allowed. But my PB on emulator is a 1:17.06. Judging by the time of the speed I'm going at, I'd say this is going to be a 1:17 still, but not by much. Like, it'll probably be before 1:18, but still a 1:17, if that makes sense. Yeah, round and round and round we go.
4 laps to go.
Like I said, hopefully everybody's enjoyed this run. And, yeah, you got any final thoughts, Tim? Whilst I'm just going round and round in the circle.
Yeah, no worries. No, I was just thinking about the ovals. I take it you're not an oval fan when it comes to racing games, then. I mean, obviously you're rallying first and foremost. But,
I prefer more corners than just 2.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
It's why I probably wouldn't. For me personally, I would never run a NASCAR game.
Yeah, I was going to say NASCAR. Yeah.
But at the same time, when Kuno did his NASCAR Heat 4 run at the last event, which actually involved dirt championship racing, where all the tracks were off-road, I think it was. It was the Dirt Extreme Championship. Yeah, it was that was a fun time. I was like, ooh, okay, this isn't not too bad. But yeah, there you go.
2 laps to go.
Also, apparently 2 laps to go, but yeah, it's in 2 bad for this one. It's in 2 bad.
Been very, very good. And thank you very much again, everyone, for donating. Please remember donations coming in. All your donations go towards Mind. €200 so far. But let's see if that come in. And we do have another run coming up after this very shortly when this is finished. Have Travel Through Time Volume 1 with Digital Duck, which I have to say I'm really looking forward to. Just be something a bit different.
I was going to say it's right up your street as well.
Yep, very much so.
This actually doesn't look like it's going to be far behind my PB as I thought. I was expecting like a late 1:17. This is going to be quicker than I imagined.
Finish line is just up ahead in
timing might be slightly off.
Finish! There goes the winner. What an incredible race!
There we go. Yeah, there we go. I got 117.29, but I think I started splitting a bit late on the end of the actual stream layout, so it's unfortunate, but yeah, not a bad run altogether. Pretty good. Quite enjoyed that. Also, just to show that it is definitely the end of the run, by the way.
Congratulations!
So he says congratulations, and then we get these. So we get the Ridge City FM 76.5.
You're listening to 76.5 FM.
GG.
Ridge City FM.
So yeah, pretty damn
The
good.
city is yours.
There we go. There you go. Apparently it was the city is yours, according to that. But yeah, I think that's kind of going to round out that run, to be fair. You got any closing thoughts, Tim, before we go?
No, just to say that we have the next one coming up fairly shortly. We've got Travel Through Time Volume 1 with Digital Duck. But thank you, Viper, for that fantastic run of Ridge Racer 5. I hope everybody enjoyed that. And again, please keep tuned, folks. We've got lots more racing action coming up for you throughout the rest of the day.
You've got a new engine.